There is a moment before every exam when time seems to collapse, when the weight of everything you have studied or failed to study presses heavily on your mind. And in that moment, most students make the same mistake. They believe the answer is to do more, to study longer, to push harder, to sacrifice sleep, peace, and clarity in exchange for a false sense of productivity. But what if the real secret is not in doing more, but in doing things differently, in stepping away from chaos and embracing structure, in replacing exhaustion with intention? And this is where the simple yet powerful idea of the 3-3-3 rule begins to quietly transform everything you thought you knew about studying. Because instead of overwhelming your brain with endless hours of scattered focus, this method invites you to divide your effort into 3 clear, purposeful stages, each designed to work with your mind rather than against it, allowing you to absorb information more naturally, retain it more effectively, and approach your exams with a sense of calm confidence rather than panic. And the beauty of this rule is that it acknowledges something most people ignore. Your brain is not a machine. It is a living, breathing system that thrives on rhythm, breaks, and meaningful engagement. So when you sit down to study using the 3-3-3 rule, you are not just reviewing material. You are training your mind to focus deeply for short, intentional periods, then step back before fatigue sets in, and then return with renewed clarity. And in doing so, you begin to notice something subtle but powerful. Your attention sharpens, your memory strengthens, and your anxiety begins to fade, because instead of feeling lost in an endless sea of information, you start to see patterns, connections, and progress. And this shift is not just academic, it is deeply psychological, because when you realize that you can learn more in less time, that you can feel in control instead of overwhelmed, you begin to rebuild your confidence. And confidence is not something that appears overnight. It is something that grows quietly through small, consistent wins. And every time you complete a focused session, every time you recall something you thought you had forgotten, you are reinforcing a new belief about yourself, that you are capable, that you are prepared, that you are not defined by stress or fear. And this is why the 3-3 rule is more than just a study technique. It is a mindset shift, a way of approaching challenges with clarity instead of chaos, with purpose instead of pressure. And as you begin to apply it, you may find yourself wondering why no one taught you this earlier, why you spent so much time trapped in cycles of burnout and frustration, when the answer was always something simpler, something quieter, something that respects the way your mind truly works. And as this realization settles in, a new question begins to emerge, one that changes everything. If studying smarter can transform your results, what else in your life could change if you stopped trying to do more and started learning how to do things better compared to? But just as you begin to feel the quiet confidence of this method taking shape, something unexpected happens, because the real challenge is not understanding the 3-3-3 rule. It is trusting it when pressure begins to rise, when the clock starts ticking louder, when your exam date feels closer than ever. And in that moment, your instincts may try to pull you back into old habits, whispering that you are not doing enough, that you should be studying longer, pushing harder, sacrificing more. And this is where most people break their own progress, not because the method fails them, but because fear convinces them to abandon it. And yet, if you pause and observe what is truly happening, you will begin to see a deeper truth unfold, because the 3-3-3 rule is built on a principle that goes against everything stress teaches you. It asks you to slow down when you feel rushed, to focus when you feel scattered, and to rest when you feel guilty for not working. And this contradiction creates a kind of inner tension, a quiet battle between discipline and doubt. And if you are not careful, doubt can easily win, leading you back into long, unfocused study sessions where your mind drifts, your energy, your drains, and your retention fades without you even realizing it. And this is where the suspense of your journey truly begins, because you are standing between 2 paths, one that feels familiar but leads to burnout, and one that feels uncertain but leads to mastery. And the difference between the two is not intelligence, it is trust. Trust in the process, trust in your ability to stay consistent, and trust in the idea that progress does not have to feel painful to be real. And as you continue to apply the 3-3-3 rule, you may notice moments where everything clicks, where information that once seemed confusing suddenly becomes clear, where you recall details effortlessly, and where your focus feels almost effortless. But these moments do not come from forcing your mind, they come from aligning with it, from giving it the structure it needs to perform at its best. And yet, even as these breakthroughs appear, there will still be moments of doubt, moments where you question whether it is enough, whether you are truly prepared. And this is where the deeper lesson reveals itself, because the 333 rule is not just teaching you how to study, it is teaching you how to manage uncertainty, how to remain steady in the face of pressure, and how to choose clarity over chaos, even when your emotions try to lead you elsewhere. And as this understanding grows, you begin to realize that success in exams is not just about knowledge, it is about control over your time, your energy, and your attention. And when you gain that control, something powerful begins to shift, because you are no longer reacting to stress, you are responding with intention, and in that shift lies the true power of this method, a power that most people overlook until it is too late, leaving them wondering what might have been different if they had simply trusted a smarter way forward. And then, as the final days before your exam arrive, something remarkable begins to settle within you. Not a sudden burst of confidence or a dramatic transformation, but a quiet, steady sense of control that feels almost unfamiliar at first, because instead of panic, there is clarity. Instead of rushing, there is rhythm. And instead of overwhelming pressure, there is a calm awareness that you have done what truly matters. And this is where the full power of the 333 rule reveals itself, not in a single moment of success, but in the way it has reshaped your entire approach to learning, because you are no longer chasing information, you are understanding it. You are no longer exhausting yourself, you are sustaining your energy, and you are no longer doubting your ability. You are proving it to yourself, step by step, session by session. And this transformation goes deeper than exams, because it teaches you something that extends far beyond the classroom. It shows you that mastery is not built through intensity alone, but through consistency, awareness, and balance. And as you sit down for your exam, you may still feel a trace of nervousness, but it is different now. It is no longer overwhelming. It is simply a signal that you care, and beneath that feeling is something far more powerful. A foundation of preparation that cannot be shaken by a few difficult questions or unexpected challenges, because you have trained your mind to stay present, to think clearly, and to move forward with intention. And this is the hidden reward of studying smarter instead of longer. You carry your focus with you, you carry your discipline with you, and you carry a new understanding of how to approach any challenge that demands your attention. And even after the exam is over, even when the results are still unknown, there is a sense of peace that remains, because you know that you did not rely on last-minute panic or endless hours of ineffective work. You relied on a method that respected your mind and strengthened it. And this realization becomes a turning point, a moment where you begin to question other areas of your life, wondering where else you have been trying too hard, instead of thinking more clearly, where else you have been sacrificing balance in the name of progress, and what might change if you applied the same principles of focus, structure, and intentional rest beyond your studies. Because the truth is, the lesson you have learned here is not limited to exams. It is a blueprint for growth, a reminder that real progress does not come from chaos, but from clarity. And as this idea settles into your thinking, it opens the door to a different way of living, one where you are no longer driven by pressure alone, but guided by purpose. And that is a shift that can change everything, not just your results, but your entire perspective on what it means to succeed. And if you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.